Imagine a moment of intense adversity where everything seems to collapse around you. Unspoken words weigh more than any insult that can be uttered. It is in this exact moment that silence reveals itself as a refuge, an invisible and powerful force. In Buddhism, there is a profound teaching that values silence in the face of adversities. And that is exactly what we will talk about today. In the first few seconds, I want you to feel the impact of this idea. Think of all the times an unthoughtful response aggravated an already complicated situation. What if, instead of reacting impulsively, you opted for silence? A silence that is not passivity, but rather an active choice not to feed negativity. This is the first step to transforming your life and finding true inner peace. Silence in the face of adversity is not weakness. It is an expression of inner strength. It is the ability to remain calm amid the storm. By choosing silence, you are not surrendering. You are taking control. And that control changes everything. Let's embark on this journey together, starting with a Buddhist monk who deeply understands this practice and uses it to guide his followers. He shows how silence can be the most powerful, most transformative response of all. This story begins now with a monk and his disciple and the incredible lesson that sometimes the greatest power lies in the words we choose not to say. In an ancient Buddhist monastery situated in tranquil mountains, lived a wise monk known for his serenity and profound wisdom. This monk, named Rinzin, was respected by all who knew him. However, among his many disciples, there was a young man named Arjun, whose soul was a storm of restlessness and anxiety. Arjun was a fiery young man, always ready to defend his honor and react to any provocation. His mind never stopped, always dwelling on injustices, always ready with a quick and sharp response. He believed that by reacting, he showed strength and gained respect. But in reality, this only fueled a cycle of conflict and tension that seemed never-ending. One morning, after a particularly restless night in which Arjun could hardly sleep due to his worries, he decided to seek the advice of the monk Rinzin. Finding the old monk sitting in meditation near the monastery garden, Arjun could not hide his frustration. "Venerable Rinzin," he said, "my mind is like a raging sea. Whenever someone insults or provokes me, I feel the need to respond, to defend my honor. But this only brings me more suffering. What should I do?" Rinzin opened his eyes slowly, observing Arjun with a look full of compassion and wisdom. "My young disciple," he said, "you are carrying the weight of every offensive word as if they were precious stones. But in reality, they are just stones that drag you down further and further." Arjun frowned, confused. "But Master, how can I not react? If I don't defend myself, I will be seen as weak." Rinzin smiled slightly. "True strength, Arjun, is not in reacting impulsively but in finding peace in the midst of the storm. When you react with anger, you become a slave to others' words. But if you remain silent, you set yourself free." Intrigued but still skeptical, Arjun decided to follow Rinzin's teachings, though not without hesitation. He was about to embark on a journey that would challenge everything he believed about strength and honor, and this journey would begin with the first challenge imposed by his master. Arjun did not yet know it, but this path of silence would lead him to discover a strength he never imagined he possessed. The restlessness in his heart would be tested, but with each challenge, he would learn the art of finding peace in the storm, and thus true transformation would begin. The sun was high in the sky when Rinzin called Arjun for a special task. The young disciple was anxious but also determined to prove his worth. Rinzin, with his calm presence and serene voice, explained the challenge Arjun would have to face. "Arjun," said Rinzin, "today you will go to the village market. There you will meet people who are used to provoking and insulting travelers. Your task is simple. You must remain silent no matter what happens. You must not react, you must not defend yourself, you must not speak." Arjun was astonished. "But Master, how can I allow myself to be insulted without responding? Won't that be seen as weakness?" Rinzin looked deep into Arjun's eyes. "True strength, my young one, lies in mastering your own reactions. This is the path to inner peace. Go and remember, silence can be your greatest weapon. With a mixture of apprehension and determination, Arjun set off for the market. Upon arrival, he immediately felt the curious glances and the first provocative words. Some men known for being troublemakers began to insult him. "Look at him," shouted one of them. "A monk who doesn't know how to speak? Or maybe he's afraid of us." Arjun felt his blood boil. His hands trembled with anger. Every fiber of his being wanted to respond, to shout back, to show that he was not weak. But he remembered Rinzan's words and remained silent, breathing deeply, trying to find peace in the midst of the storm. The insults continued. They mocked his clothes, his walk, his apparent lack of courage. One of the men even tried to push him, hoping for a reaction. But Arjun, with great effort, remained still, his eyes fixed on the horizon, his words trapped deep in his throat. Hours passed, and finally, the provocateurs began to lose interest. They couldn't understand how someone could endure so many insults without even raising their voice. Arjun's peace, although forced and painful, began to prevail. When he returned to the monastery at dusk, Rinzan was waiting for him. Exhausted but triumphant, Arjun looked at his master with new understanding. "Master," he said, "it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but now I understand the power of silence. I not only feel stronger, but I realize that insults have no power over me if I don't allow them to." Rinzan smiled with satisfaction. "This is just the beginning, Arjun. You have taken the first step to finding true peace. Remember, silence is not just the absence of words, but the presence of unshakable inner strength." And so, Arjun began to realize that silence could be the most powerful response, not just for others, but especially for himself. After the trial at the market, Arjun felt a mix of pride and exhaustion. Though he had managed to maintain silence, the internal battle he fought was intense and exhausting. The next day, he met with monk Rinzan again, who congratulated him on the first step. However, Rinzan knew that the true test was yet to come. In the days that followed, Arjun continued to practice silence in various situations, but an unexpected challenge arose. In the monastery, there was another disciple named Renji, known for his provocative and envious attitude. Renji, noticing Arjun's new practice, decided to test his patience to the fullest. One morning, while Arjun was meditating in the garden, Renji approached with a malicious smile. "So Arjun, the great master of silence now? Do you think this makes you better than us?" Arjun felt the heat of anger rise up his spine but took a deep breath, remaining calm. Renji, seeing he had not received a response, continued, "You're just a fool, Arjun. Silence is not a sign of wisdom. It's a sign of cowardice." Renji's words cut deep. Arjun, struggling to maintain his serenity, remembered Rinzan's words about true inner strength. But the temptation to react was enormous. He wanted to shout, to show he was not a coward, that he was strong and worthy of respect. For days, Renji continued with his provocations, testing Arjun's limits. He spread rumors, made malicious comments in front of other disciples, and even tried to incite arguments during meals. Each time Arjun felt the impulse to react, he remembered the sense of peace he had begun to find in his silence, but the internal struggle was immense. One night, while Arjun was alone in his cell, he felt a wave of despair. "Why is this so hard?" he wondered. "Why does peace seem so distant when provocation is so close?" He decided to seek out Rinzan, confessing his struggle. "Master," Arjun said with a trembling voice, "the temptation to react is almost unbearable. I feel like I'm on the verge of a breakdown." Rinzan, with his gentle look and infinite understanding, replied, "Arjun, the struggle you face is the hardest of all, the battle against your own mind. But remember, each time you choose silence, you are building a strength that no insult can break. True peace does not come from the absence of conflict, but from the ability to remain calm amid the storm." With these words, Arjun felt a renewal of his determination. He realized that each temptation to react was an opportunity to strengthen his inner peace. And so he continued his journey, knowing that each moment of silence was a victory against his own restlessness, a continuous construction of his true strength. On a quiet afternoon, Arjun was sweeping the monastery courtyard when a group of villagers arrived, bringing with them a heated dispute. Two brothers were fiercely arguing over an inheritance, each convinced they had the right to their parents' land. The situation was tense, and the negative energy in the air was palpable. The villagers asked monk Rinzin to mediate the dispute, and he, with his usual calm, called Arjun to accompany him. Upon arriving at the scene, Rinzin observed the brothers for a few moments, then addressed Arjun with a meaningful look. Arjun, this is a moment for you to apply what you have learned. Observe and maintain inner silence. As the brothers shouted and accused each other, Arjun observed, feeling the storm of emotions and words surrounding them. He realized that each insult, each harsh word, only fueled the anger and despair. Amid all the chaos, he remembered Rinzin's teachings. Silence can be a powerful response. Suddenly, one of the brothers, enraged, directed his anger at Arjun, thinking he was there to take sides. "And you, monk, what do you have to say about this? Won't you defend your master? Or are you so cowardly that you have nothing to say?" Arjun felt the impact of the words like spears trying to pierce his newly conquered calm. But at that moment, something changed inside him. He looked at the angry brother, not with resentment, but with compassion. He saw the suffering behind the anger, the pain that fueled those words. Instead of reacting, Arjun closed his eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. When he opened his eyes, there was unshakable serenity in his gaze. He remained silent, his presence becoming a bastion of calm amid the turmoil. The magic began to happen. The brother, expecting a reaction, was confused by Arjun's serenity. His anger began to dissipate, replaced by perplexity. Arjun's silence created a space where anger had no room to thrive. The villagers, seeing the change in atmosphere, also began to calm down. The aggressive energy was gradually replaced by a sense of peace and reflection. Finally, Rinzin intervened, but now the tension had significantly decreased, and he could mediate the dispute more effectively. After the incident, Arjun felt an inner clarity he had never experienced before. He understood on a deep level the true power of silence. It was not just the absence of words, but the presence of peace that could transform any situation. "Master," said Arjun later, "today I saw the power of silence in action. It was not just about not speaking, but about creating a space of peace that allowed for change." Rinzin smiled, proud of his disciple. "Arjun, you have begun to understand the true essence of silence. Continue on this path, and you will see transformation not only in yourself, but in everyone around you." And so Arjun advanced on his journey, increasingly aware of the power that resided in the quietness of his spirit, ready to face challenges with a strength that emanated from inner silence. After the epiphany in the monastery courtyard, something profound changed within Arjun. He began to feel a lightness, a peace that previously seemed unattainable. Each passing day, he found himself more serene, more aware of his emotions and the reactions of those around him. Silence was no longer a challenge, but a conscious choice he made with growing ease. Arjun noticed the first changes during his daily interactions. Before, when confronted with stressful situations or irritable people, he felt his heart race, his body preparing for battle. Now he found himself responding with a calm smile or simply remaining silent, allowing the storm to pass without affecting him. One morning, while walking through the market, he saw a vendor known for his explosive temper arguing with a customer. As he approached, the vendor, recognizing Arjun, expected an intervention. Arjun, however, just observed with a calm gaze. Without a word, he radiated a peace that began to affect those around him. The customer, noticing Arjun's calmness, lowered his voice, and the vendor, surprised by the change, did the same. In minutes, the conflict dissolved, leaving both with an expression of reflection. At the monastery, the other disciples began to notice Arjun's transformation. Renji, who previously provoked him incessantly, now observed him with curiosity and a touch of respect. The change in Arjun was undeniable. He not only seemed calmer, but also radiated a positive energy that influenced everyone around him. His meditations were deeper, and his understanding of Rinzan's teachings became clearer each day. One afternoon, while Arjun was in the garden tending to the plants, Rinji approached, not with provocation but with a sincere question. "Arjun, how did you achieve this peace? I see the difference in you and want to understand." Arjun, with a gentle smile, replied, "Renji, the peace I found comes from inner silence. I learned not to react impulsively and to find strength in stillness. This doesn't mean I don't feel anger or frustration, but that I choose not to let these emotions control me." Impressed, Rinji began to follow Arjun's example, trying to apply silence in his own internal battles. The monastery gradually became an even more harmonious place, with the disciples inspired by Arjun's transformation. One day, Rinzan called Arjun for a private conversation. "Arjun, the transformation I see in you is a testament to the power of silence. You have not only changed yourself but are changing everyone around you. Remember, the journey to inner peace is continuous, and each step you take illuminates the path for others." Arjun, with gratitude and humility, thanked his master. He knew that the path of silence was eternal, a constant learning and practice. But now he was no longer alone. His inner transformation had become a source of inspiration and change for everyone around him, showing that true strength and peace come from within. It was a rainy day at the monastery when disturbing news arrived. A group of mercenaries had entered the nearby village, demanding tributes from the villagers in exchange for protection. The frightened and desperate villagers came to the monastery for help. Knowing the gravity of the situation, Rinzan decided to take some disciples with him, including Arjun. Upon arriving in the village, the mercenaries were already causing a commotion. They were led by a man named Kazuo, known for his cruelty and intolerance. Rinzan and the disciples approached calmly, but the monks' presence did not go unnoticed. Kazuo, seeing the monks, especially Arjun, who stood out for his serenity amid the chaos, decided to use him as an example. "You there!" shouted Kazuo, pointing at Arjun. "Do you think your peace and silence can stop me? Come here and show me what you're made of." Arjun, his heart pounding, took a step forward. He knew this was the ultimate test of everything he had learned. He approached Kazuo without fear, his eyes reflecting an unshakable calm. "You think I have no power over you?" Kazuo provoked, stepping forward and pushing Arjun hard. Arjun stumbled but maintained his silence, breathing deeply and standing firm. The mercenaries laughed, expecting him to react, but he did not. Kazuo's fury grew with each moment of silence. "Speak, monk, or are you so weak that you have nothing to say?" Kazuo raised his hand, ready to strike Arjun. But before he could do so, Arjun did something surprising. He knelt before Kazuo, bowing his head in a gesture of complete surrender and respect. The act was so unexpected that silence fell over the crowd. Kazuo, confused, hesitated. Arjun then spoke, his words laden with deep serenity. "I did not come here to fight or provoke. I came to offer peace. Your power is in your hands, but true strength comes from the heart. If you choose violence, you only perpetuate the cycle of pain. But if you choose peace, you will find a strength you never imagined." Kazuo, shaken by Arjun's sincerity and courage, felt a wave of conflicting emotions. No one had ever knelt before him in such a way. Arjun's silence, combined with his words, created a pause in which Kazuo began to reflect on his actions. The anger and hatred he had harbored for so long began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of shame and regret. The villagers and mercenaries watched in tense silence. Then, in a slow, almost incredulous movement, Kazuo lowered his hand and stepped back. He looked around, seeing the hopeful faces of the villagers and the monks' unshakable peace. Something inside him changed. Kazuo took a deep breath and, with a hoarse voice, said, "Today you taught me a lesson. We will leave. But remember, peace is a difficult choice but the most powerful of all." With that, he ordered his men to withdraw. The villagers, incredulous and emotional, burst into applause and tears of relief. Arjun, still kneeling, felt a wave of gratitude and fulfillment. He had used the power of silence to transform a situation of violence into an opportunity for peace. Rinzin approached Arjun and, helping him to his feet, said with a proud smile, "Today you showed that silence is not just the absence of words, but the presence of a transformative force. You found true peace, and through you, others have found it too." That day, Arjun understood the depth of Rinzin's teachings. Silence, when used with wisdom and compassion, had the power to transform hearts and change destinies. Here we come to the end of this Buddhist story with the teaching of how silence in the face of adversity can help calm our minds. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. Share with your friends and leave your comments below about what you thought of this story or suggestions for a topic you would like to see here. We always bring inspiring stories with teachings for modern life.